This is my review of this necklace clasp made by EFKON. The message love is on both sides of the clasp, and it comes in a unique box. You open it by pressing on the bottom, and then this is enclosed in like a membrane type of film, and it has a clasp on one side and then little hoops on the other for securing your necklaces. One thing I noticed, inside you'll see that you've got like a bead on one side and a little divot on the other. And if those are not lined up perfectly, I'll do it on purpose, then this can slip off if you pull on one of the necklaces. So just make sure when using it that those beads are lined up, and that'll give you a much more secure fit for your necklaces. Let's talk about what works and doesn't work though in these clasps, because not everything does. This one has a fairly thin type of opening, and it does work, but it actually has to hook onto that little strip that's going into the tube on the clasp. So it kind of sticks out like that, but it seems fairly secure, so I have been wearing it like that. And the other nice thing is that this piece does stay nicely at the back of your neck. So even though it's sticking out, it's not unsightly. This necklace has a lobster claw clasp on the other side, and the hoop part is thin enough that it goes on nicely. So let's look at some others. I've got a dainty piece of jewelry here. You'll notice that it has a small lobster clasp and also a very thin, very tiny little hoop. So I can put the hoop in the mouth of this round clasp. So that will hold, but as far as getting this lobster claw around the thickness of this hoop. All right, so if you have dainty pieces, you're just going to have to make sure that it gets in there. So right now it's not completely closed. You'll have to work it so that your jewelry is completely secured in the clasp. Let's try this type of a closure. So that goes on nicely. So once again, you've got that, but it's gonna stick out. It's not actually gonna swing down on this thick type of a clasp here, but it does work nicely. And like I said, this in the back is not going to show because it's weighted so that your clasps don't fall forward. So that's another nice feature of this product. One other issue that I've had is that sometimes the chains can sort of twist up. Now I'm going to try a large lobster claw clasp and a fairly large hoop. So that worked out fine. I was able to get it in. So that seemed to work out fine. This is a very old-fashioned type of a clasp. I don't think it'll work, but we will check it. All right, this is the hook part. Which goes on this side. I was able to get it in and hook it. Let's try the other side. So actually, that went together nicely. Again, these are wanting to tangle a little bit. Oh, notice there is definitely a right and a wrong side. So I've actually got this on backward because this one's facing forward, and I've got this one backwards. So just be careful when you're loading your clasp that you've got the right, both of your pieces facing the same way. Now we're going to try this type of a closure. I'm pretty sure this is not going to work. So this would hook, but it's not going to be secured. And as far as the other side, I think we're going to have the issue with this heavy clasp not fitting in well. I can't get that clasp in that small opening. So that type of a clasp will not work with this device. And lastly, we're going to try another lobster claw with a very small closure. It's similar to the first one that I had, but much smaller. So this is the one that did work. It's a little bit longer. And this is the one that we're trying. Okay, it does hook in, but again, it's going to stick out just like the other one did. And the lobster claw does go on nicely. I wouldn't necessarily pair these together because they're such a very similar length. But again, it's easy to put on. It's nice because once you get them, you're not going to be dealing with those little clasps at all. So again, I put it on the wrong side, but once you get it set, I think it is handy. Like I said, the only issues I've noticed are sometimes the chain, especially if you have a thin one like this, does wrap around a heavier chain. And if you don't get the clasp lined up well, it can pull off if one of these chains gets pulled on. So other than that, I love it. I think it's great. that I don't have to deal with the clasps. It goes on and off quite easily. And I think it's attractive, and I liked the cool membrane box that it came in.